Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show where we try to distill some pretty complex ideas into clear, impactful insights for you.
Glad to be here.
Today, we're plunging into a concept that, well, it really challenges the very foundations of our current global systems. You look around and you see it, don't you? These vast inequalities, persistent poverty, environmental crises that just seem completely intractable within the systems we have. Capitalism, communism.
They seem baked in almost.
Exactly. And it prompts this really fundamental question. What if there was a truly different way? A different way to organize our society, our economy? One that promises not just, growth, but genuine prosperity and equity for everyone.
A tall order.
It is.
Yeah.
And that's precisely what we're going to try and unpack today, Kalkiism. It's presented as this visionary new economic framework. We're going to explore its core principles, try to understand why its proponents are so adamant that it's neither capitalism nor communism, but a revolutionary third path.
Yeah. And our mission in this deep dive, really, is to pull out the most important insights from the source material we've looked at. Give you, the listener, a kind of shortcut to being well-informed about this really intriguing idea. We'll delve into the philosophy behind it, its sometimes surprising practical mechanics, and its really ambitious vision for what they see as a fairer, more prosperous, and, importantly, sustainable world.
Wow.
We'll try to connect the dots, how it proposes to mend these old societal fractures, and maybe even create totally new opportunities for human flourishing.
And as we navigate this, I think you'll find some genuinely surprising twists. Ideas that flip fundamental concepts like currency, work, even what we mean by value, completely on their heads.
Absolutely. There are definitely some aha moments in there.
Okay, so let's start unpacking this. Where do we begin?
Well, to really grasp why Kalkiism proposes such radical changes, we first have to look critically at the systems we have now. What are the problems it's trying to solve?
Right. Confronting the deep fissures within our own economic reality. Let's start with something we all hear about. Gross domestic product, GDP.
The big one.
Yeah, the cornerstone metric, especially in capitalist economies. It measures the total market value of goods and services produced. Simple enough, right?
On the surface, yeah.
But, as our sources powerfully argue, using it as a proxy for how well society is doing, it's fundamentally flawed.
Deeply flawed. And the insight here is just how distorted GDP's perspective really is. I mean, it's presented as the ultimate measure of economic health.
Fridays, top of the news.
But it utterly fails to capture the true vibrancy or even the suffering within a society. It doesn't look at wealth distribution at all. So a nation could have a soaring GDP.
Like we hear all the time.
Exactly. While a tiny elite hoards immense riches and millions are left struggling, GDP doesn't care.
Doesn't register.
Nope. And worse, maybe more perversely, it completely ignores environmental degradation. It can even promote it.
How so? That sounds counterintuitive.
Well, think about it. A massive oil spill, a catastrophic hurricane requiring huge cleanup efforts.
Right, lots of spending, contracts.
Precisely. They generate financial transactions. And those transactions actually boost GDP. It's this bizarre economic paradox where destruction can literally be counted as growth.
That's deeply problematic when you put it like that.
And perhaps most critically, from a human perspective, GDP completely overlooks invaluable unpaid labor. The immense effort that goes into caregiving, raising children, managing households, community volunteering.
The glue that holds society together, really.
Absolutely, the very sinews of society. But because there's no market transaction, GDP renders it invisible. And that profoundly skews our understanding of what true economic contribution even looks like.
It's a critical observation. Just think about that disconnect for a moment
Maybe.
between what we call economic growth and actual societal well-being. How might that quietly impact your daily life, your community, the world around you? We're told the economy is strong, but if that strength doesn't translate into healthier families, cleaner air, stronger communities, then what exactly are we measuring? What does strong even mean in that context?
Absolutely. And this distorted view of progress, it inevitably funnels into one of humanity's most persistent dilemmas: societal inequalities and poverty.
Which brings us to the next point.
Yeah. Capitalism, with its focus on competition and profit, look, it undeniably drives innovation and generates wealth. For some, we can't deny that.
Sure, it has its successes.
But it also seems to relentlessly concentrate immense wealth into the hands of a small elite. We see millions, even in supposedly developed nations, struggling with basic necessities: food, housing, healthcare.
Things that should be fundamental.
Exactly. The system inherently favors those who already have capital. It creates these deep-seated hierarchies and often traps those without resources in cycles of deprivation. It's hard to get ahead if you start behind.
And it's not just capitalism that has struggled here. If we think back to communism, its explicit aim was to eliminate class distinctions, create a truly egalitarian society. A noble goal on paper.
The intention was there, yeah.
But history, unfortunately, shows us it often led to scarcity, widespread inefficiency, and frequently authoritarianism.
The centralized control, while maybe well-intentioned in trying to distribute wealth, often just stifled individual freedom. It didn't really incentivize genuine productivity or innovation in the long run.
So we're kind of left with these two dominant systems. Both maybe had noble aims at their philosophical roots, but in practice, both seem to have perpetuated cycles of inequity and dissatisfaction. It leaves this significant void, doesn't it? A space for a potentially new approach.
Which raises a fascinating question, I think. Could this pervasive feeling of dissatisfaction that we see globally, even in societies that look prosperous on the outside, could it be directly linked to these systemic flaws?
You mean it's not just about money?
Right. It's not just material poverty, although that's huge. It might also be about a deeper sense of disconnection, maybe a lack of purpose, the erosion of community ties, the relentless financial pressure that even people with decent jobs feel constantly.
Yeah, the anxiety is palpable sometimes.
Exactly. This collective discontent might just be the simmering force making so many people hungry for fundamental alternatives, a yearning for an economy that actually serves humanity. Not the other way around.
And a massive part of that simmering dissatisfaction surely stems from another critical flaw, one that impacts every single one of us: environmental degradation.
Can't ignore that one.
The relentless profit-first mentality, particularly under capitalism, has driven this unchecked exploitation of natural resources. I mean, just look at the scale of our global environmental crises: accelerating climate change, widespread pollution of air and water, rapid resource depletion.
All interconnected.
It feels like it. All tied to this relentless pursuit of growth for growth's sake, often without much regard for planetary limits.
And the inherent conflict built into that model is stark, isn't it? The pursuit of limitless economic growth on a finite planet. It's just fundamentally unsustainable. You can't have infinite growth on a limited resource base. It doesn't compute.
Logically, no.
This constant demand for more production, more consumption, inevitably strains ecosystems. It leads to the degradation of our natural world, which in turn jeopardizes human health, societal stability, and our long-term viability as a species.
Okay, so understanding these deep-seated flaws, the problems with GDP, the inequalities, the environmental damage, it's crucial then for appreciating why Kalkiism proposes such radical, really transformative solutions.
Absolutely. It's not just about tweaking the existing systems. It's proposing a complete reimagining of economic purpose and societal structure. It starts from a different place entirely.
Okay, let's unpack this revolutionary alternative then. Kalkiism. Even the name is interesting. You mentioned it draws inspiration from Kalki in Hindu mythology.
That's right. Kalki is often seen as a figure who ushers in a new era, a harbinger of change and renewal. So, the name itself is symbolic, setting the stage for its ambition to bring about a fundamental transformation.
So it's signaling a break from the past.
Exactly. And the profound insight here, I think, lies in its human-centric pivot. Unlike systems that prioritize, say, capital accumulation or centralized state control, Kalkiism proposes that the sole purpose of an economy should be to enhance human well-being and dignity.
Sole purpose. That's a strong claim.
It is, and to do so in harmony with the planet. It's framed not just as an economic model, but almost as a philosophical revolution. It tries to directly address the hard-learned lessons from history. So it aims to avoid the extreme social stratification and environmental damage we often see under capitalism, and the economic stagnation, scarcity, and loss of freedom experienced under communism. It's actively seeking a balance, trying to blend innovation with genuine equity and ecological responsibility.
So if Kalkiism aims to transcend these old systems, what's the new philosophy guiding its design? What are its foundational principles?
It rests on three core tenets, which are really the bedrock of the entire structure.
Okay.
First, universal equity. And this isn't just presented as a nice ideal, it's the absolute starting point. Every single individual, regardless of their job, background, ability, whatever, they have equal intrinsic value and should have equal access to society's resources. period.
Equal access. That's key.
Second, sufficiency over accumulation. The economy's main goal isn't to perpetuate limitless growth or allow for the endless hoarding of wealth by a few. Instead, it fundamentally aims to meet everyone's needs comprehensively and sustainably. Enough is enough, basically.
A very different goal from maximizing GDP.
Totally different. And third, cooperation over competition. This principle asserts that humanity's greatest progress, our best innovations, our strongest societies are achieved through collective effort and shared purpose, rather than through cutthroat, often destructive competition.
Universal equity, sufficiency over accumulation, cooperation over competition. When you lay them out like that, well, it prompts you, the listener, to consider if these core tenets align with your own ideals for what a just and thriving society might look like.
It definitely makes you think about fundamental values.
It does. Okay,
Yeah.
so given these foundational ideas, how does Kalkiism actually start to build its new world? It begins, you said, by radically rethinking how we measure economic success. Replacing GDP with something called GDR. What exactly is gross domestic requirement?
Right, GDR. This is a fundamental inversion of how we define economic success. Instead of measuring output value, GDR measures the total resources and services required to meet the basic needs of an entire population.
Required, not produced.
Exactly. It's not about how much is produced for profit. It's about systematically identifying and then ensuring guaranteed access to the essentials. We're talking nutritious food, dignified shelter, comprehensive health care, universal education, reliable energy. The basics for a decent life.
So it shifts the economy's focus entirely.
Completely. From what can be sold for maximum gain to what is truly needed for universal well-being. That becomes the driving question.
How does that work in practice?
Well, under the GDR framework, all economic activity is consciously directed towards meeting these carefully defined needs. So, resource allocation, production planning, even the direction of innovation, it's all guided by the actual, verifiable requirements of the people.
Not just market demand based on who has money.
Precisely. It's based on need, not purchasing power alone. The source material explicitly says that additional production and innovation are encouraged, so it's not anti-growth in that sense.
Okay.
But not at the expense of social equity or environmental sustainability. So if a community has reliably met its need for, say, food, the economic focus shifts to other identified needs, like improving healthcare access or developing cleaner energy. It prevents that wasteful overproduction or environmental damage driven purely by profit potential.
That's a profound shift. I can't help but wonder, how would this focus drastically change which industries get prioritized? What kinds of innovation would receive the most attention and resources?
You can imagine, right? Instead of, say, huge investments flowing into maybe luxury goods or complex financial instruments,
Which often happens now.
right, you might see massive resources channeled into developing sustainable agriculture techniques, advanced renewable energy grids, universal preventative healthcare programs, things that address fundamental needs. The very structure and purpose of the economy would be geared towards collective well-being.
It changes the whole game.
Exactly. This focus on necessity over excess, it not only dramatically reduces waste, but it also aims to ensure a fair, needs-based distribution of resources. And that, proponents argue, fosters a powerful sense of shared purpose within communities.
Okay, so if needs are the focus, the next logical question is, how does Kalkiism actually facilitate the exchange of goods and services without traditional money? That feels like the biggest hurdle to grasp.
It definitely does. And this leads us to its most radical and perhaps most talked about aspect.
Which is replacing traditional money with time as the universal medium of exchange. That sounds incredibly bold, a complete paradigm shift. How on earth does that actually work?
The underlying logic is presented as elegantly simple, yet it's profoundly revolutionary.
Yeah.
Time, they argue, is the one resource equally available to absolutely everyone. We all get 24 hours a day, right?
Yeah.
Can't argue with that.
So under this system, the idea is every individual earns an hourly wage, whether they are a farmer, doctor, artist, or president. The source material really stresses this point. There is no money, no cash, only time. If you work 8 hours, you earn 8 hours.
Regardless of the job.
Regardless of the job. This principle means that your time spent contributing, whatever your profession, whatever the perceived market value of your skills in a capitalist system, is valued identically to anyone else's time. An hour is an hour.
Okay, so everyone earns time credits for work. How are things priced then? Goods and services are priced in seconds, minutes, or hours. And that price directly reflects the collective time invested in their production or provision.
Collective time, meaning?
Meaning all the labor time that went into it, from start to finish. The farmer's time, the miller's time, the baker's time, it all adds up to the price of the bread.
I see. And the impact of that.
The profound impact, proponents claim, is that this aims to eliminate the exploitative nature of traditional monetary systems. Why? Because there's no mechanism to accumulate vast, unearned wealth through things like interest or financial speculation or paying someone less for their time than the value they actually create.
So no earning money while you sleep, essentially.
And not in the same way, no.
Yeah.
It inherently values all forms of labor equally. And this is crucial, including the historically invisible and undervalued work of caregiving, household management, community service, work that doesn't fit neatly into the traditional job market.
That's a huge shift in value and contribution.
It's a complete redefinition of what constitutes value in an economy. And importantly, the practical backbone of this system relies heavily on technology. You have to imagine a universal digital ledger, maybe the decentralized blockchain, something secure and transparent.
Like crypto, but for time.
Sort of, but without the speculative aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Your daily work automatically credits your account with time units. Every purchase you make, every service you access, debits it. It's a real-time, transparent balance visible to you via, say, secure mobile apps. And it's entirely divorced from traditional banks, interest rates, jet cycles, all that financial complexity.
So just imagine that for a second. A scenario where your time, regardless of your profession, is valued exactly the same as anyone else's in terms of purchasing power. How might that transform your daily financial anxieties, your career choices?
It's a radical thought experiment.
Would you still feel the pressure to chase that high-paying job, even if you didn't love it? Or would you feel empowered to pursue what truly fulfills you, knowing your basic needs are covered and your time is universally valued?
It definitely changes the calculation.
Let's delve deeper into the practicalities then. Standardized wages across all professions. How would this truly level the economic playing field?
The source gives some wonderfully clear examples that really illustrate how this could work on the ground.
Like what?
Okay, imagine buying a loaf of bread. That loaf might cost, let's say, 2.5 hours.
Okay.
That time represents maybe 1 hour for the farmer who grew the wheat, 30 minutes for the miller who processed it, and 1 hour for the baker who made the bread. You, as the consumer, would simply see 2 hours and 30 minutes deducted from your time credit balance when you acquire it.
Very transparent. You see the labor involved.
Exactly. The transparency is immediate. Or accessing healthcare. A medical consultation, it doesn't matter if you were previously a millionaire or a struggling cost, say, 1 hour. Everyone pays the same time cost for the doctor's expertise and time.
No complex insurance, no copays.
None of that. Or education. Teachers earn time credits for their hours teaching and preparing, obviously. But students don't pay for lessons with their own time credits.
How does that work?
Society collectively allocates resources, time credits, for universal access to education. It's viewed as a fundamental right, an essential investment in human potential for the common good. It's funded by the collective.
I see. And what about arts or leisure?
Similar idea. An artist might charge 2 hours for creating a painting. A movie ticket could cost 1 hour per person. These transparent, time-based transactions aim to ensure artists and cultural institutions are sustained and that cultural experiences are genuinely accessible to everyone, fostering a richer society.
This system certainly promises some immense practical benefits on paper. The economic equality aspect means no individual or group can wield disproportionate economic power just because they inherited wealth or work in finance.
Right, that leverage disappears.
The transparency is inherent, precisely how much collective human effort went into something. It seems to actively encourage cooperation, too, because everyone benefits from making processes more efficient, reducing the time invested.
There's a shared incentive to improve things.
And crucially, it provides universal recognition for all work, acknowledging those traditionally unpaid or undervalued contributions, like caregiving.
Which is huge. But a common criticism often comes up here, understandably.
Which is?
Does a time-based economy undervalue specialized skills or fail to incentivize innovation? If a brain surgeon and a baker earn the same hourly rate, what motivates someone to go through years of intense medical training?
That's a fair question. How does Kalkiism answer that?
Kalkiism counters this by arguing that intrinsic motivations, curiosity, passion, the desire to contribute, the sheer joy of solving complex problems often drive innovation far more effectively than purely financial rewards.
So, money isn't the only motivator.
Exactly. Think about history. Many groundbreaking discoveries, scientific principles, artistic masterpieces were pursued out of innate drive, not primarily for monetary gain. The system clarifies that specialization absolutely still exists. A surgeon still needs that extensive training and practice. But the time spent by that surgeon, once they are actively working and contributing that skill, is valued equally to the time a farmer spends cultivating crops or a teacher spends educating children. It aims to dismantle the artificial hierarchy that currently divides society based on perceived market value.
So it values the effort equally, even if the skills are different.
Precisely. The idea is this allows talent to flow where it's most needed and where individuals find the most fulfillment, rather than just chasing the highest paycheck.
Okay. So with these fundamental shifts in currency and value established, how does Kalkiism envision the broader societal structures changing? How does this redefine everything from the nature of work itself to how markets function to the very essence of governance and innovation?
Right. That's where the real transformation is meant to take shape, moving beyond just the economic mechanism.
So, with this radical shift, time as currency, equal value for all labor, let's explore what Kalkiism sees as its truly transformative principle, the inclusivity of work. How does it really recognize contributions that have been traditionally marginalized or just completely ignored by standard economic metrics?
This is where it gets really profound, I think, and potentially revolutionary in its social impact. Kalkiism directly confronts the massive inequity of unpaid or undervalued work.
Like caregiving.
Exactly. It explicitly treats household management and caregiving things like raising children, caring for elderly family members, meticulously maintaining a home as legitimate professional contributions to society.
Professional contribution.
Yes, meaning they earn the same time credits per hour as a scientist, an engineer, or a city planner. The source gives this really powerful example.
Yeah.
A single mother dedicating her time to raising 2 children.
A situation many face.
Absolutely. In a traditional economy, her immense labor often goes entirely unrecognized and uncompensated, leaving her financially vulnerable, often dependent. But in a Kalkiist economy, her caregiving work is fully compensated with time credits.
So she earns for that work.
Yes, this ensures her financial independence and powerfully reinforces the inherent value of her vital contribution to the next generation and society as a whole. It's not just about financial security, it profoundly elevates the social status and recognition of these absolutely essential roles, aiming to rebalance societal respect.
That's a massive shift in societal values right there. So what are the deeper social and psychological impacts proposed by having equal hourly wages across all professions? How does it genuinely promote equality, reduce those social hierarchies, and maybe alleviate the chronic stress and anxiety tied to our current systems?
It's quite striking when you think about it. The standardized wages aim to completely dismantle the pervasive, often unconscious, notion that certain jobs, maybe investment banking, corporate law, whatever, are inherently more valuable or worthy of disproportionate reward than essential foundational roles like teaching, farming, sanitation work, nursing.
The jobs that keep society running day to day.
Exactly. This reevaluation is intended to foster genuine mutual respect across all professions, eroding the social stigma often attached to traditionally lower paid but vital roles. And think about the pervasive stress and anxiety in modern economies.
It's hard to escape.
The constant fear of unemployment, the relentless struggle to make ends meet, the pressure to climb the ladder for higher earnings, often at the expense of personal well-being or family time. In a Kalkiist economy, the argument goes, with standardized wages ensuring basic needs are universally met through the GDR, these anxieties are significantly lessened. Individuals are potentially liberated to pursue careers genuinely aligned with their passions and talents, knowing their work will be valued equally and that their contribution is meaningful.
Less pressure, more purpose.
That's the idea. Promoting profound psychological well-being, job satisfaction, a deeper sense of personal purpose, and actively encouraging a healthier, more balanced approach to work and life. Less burnout, perhaps?
To really drive this home, let's revisit some of those illustrative scenarios the source material provides. They make it more concrete.
Absolutely. Let's look at them again. The farmer and the artist. Imagine a farmer who dedicates 8 hours cultivating food that sustains the community, and an artist who spends 8 hours creating murals that enrich public spaces. In Kalkiism, both earn 8 hours of time credits.
Equal work, equal reward.
Yes. This fundamental equality ensures both can comfortably meet their needs and continue contributing their unique value. No struggling artist versus comfortable farmer, or vice versa, just because the market arbitrarily values one output differently.
Okay.
the surgeon and the caregiver.
Mm.
A surgeon performs complex, life-saving operations for, say, 6 hours. A caregiver provides compassionate, hands-on care for elderly patients for the same 6 hours. Both earn the same hourly wage.
Even with vastly different training.
Yes. The system argues this doesn't diminish the surgeon's specialized skills or years of training. Instead, it powerfully acknowledges the equal importance of compassionate care and the essential human connection provided by caregivers. It ensures both vital roles are equally valued, respected, and supported by society.
That's a challenging idea for many, I suspect.
It definitely challenges conventional thinking. And finally, the young innovator. Picture a young, passionate entrepreneur developing, say, a groundbreaking renewable energy solution. Under Kalkiism, their work isn't dependent on venture capital or immediate profitability. It's supported collaboratively by the community.
Oh.
They earn time credits for their dedicated hours spent on research, design, and development. This fosters true innovation, the argument goes, by removing financial barriers and emphasizing collective progress driven by intrinsic motivation and the desire for communal benefit rather than purely speculative financial returns.
So the core message here seems to be about this powerful, synergistic relationship between fairness and productivity in Kalkiism.
That's how it's framed.
It's about valuing all workers equally, which in turn is supposed to motivate their best efforts and maximize societal contributions, because everyone feels seen, respected, and genuinely essential to the collective well-being.
Exactly. So work is redefined, equally valued. But how do these redefined contributions translate into a functional economy? Specifically, how does a market operate without traditional money, without those familiar forces of financial supply and demand?
Right, because this is where Kalkiism really needs to differentiate itself from, say, centrally planned economies if it claims to have markets.
Precisely. And that's a key point Kalkiism emphasizes.
That's the core challenge many listeners might be wrestling with, I imagine. Kalkiism isn't presented as communism with rigid, centralized control. The source material talks about vibrant, dynamic markets, but how does that even work when we're so conditioned to think of money driving everything in a market?
It's a fundamental shift in thinking. The core principle here is profound. By replacing monetary currency with time units, Kalkiism aims to fundamentally democratize markets.
Democratize markets.
By ensuring equal purchasing power and fair access for everyone, regardless of their profession or background. It effectively strips away the economic hierarchies that money inevitably creates. It's not about state control dictating everything. It's about leveling the playing field for every individual participant within the market.
Okay.
The system emphasizes that this inherent equality encourages collaboration over cutthroat competition. The focus shifts towards optimizing processes, improving quality, and meeting collective needs, because everyone benefits directly from increased efficiency and higher quality goods and services, not just a select few extracting profit. This, proponents argue, leads to a more innovative and sustainable economy overall.
But the crucial question remains, how does supply and demand actually function without traditional currency? That's usually the invisible hand driven by price signals based on money.
Kalkiism addresses this head-on with two key mechanisms working in tandem. First, as we discussed, time-based pricing. The price of goods and services is directly determined by the total collective time required to produce or deliver them. Remember the loaf of bread costing 2 hours. That creates inherent transparency about the labor involved.
Right, so pricing is based on effort, not just what the market will bear.
Exactly. Second, supply and demand are balanced through a sophisticated combination of collective planning and decentralized decision-making. This isn't top-down state planning.
How does it work then?
Communities proactively assess their needs using advanced digital tools and algorithms, potentially to track consumption patterns in real time and forecast future requirements with hopefully high accuracy. This allows for precise adjustments to supply, coordinated between communities and producers.
And crucially,
Because time credits cannot be accumulated indefinitely for wealth or exploited in the way money can, speculation and hoarding are rendered obsolete. There's simply no incentive to corner the market or create artificial scarcity for financial gain. That entire layer of market distortion is removed.
Okay, so if speculation and hoarding are gone, how does Kalkiism ensure genuine abundance and prevent scarcity? What are the practical, real-world mechanisms in place to guarantee that fundamental needs, identified by the GDR, are always met?
The source outlines several sophisticated and interconnected mechanisms designed to work together. 1. Prioritizing basic needs, GDR. This is the foundation. All essentials, food, shelter, healthcare, education, energy, are treated as fundamental rights. Production is rigorously aligned with meeting these needs first, and resources are allocated efficiently towards them. For instance, agricultural production is meticulously planned for regional food security. Any surplus isn't just wasted or sold off cheaply.
What happens to it?
It's systematically redistributed to prevent waste and address needs elsewhere. It becomes a shared resource. 2. Community-centered planning. Local councils and autonomous cooperatives, operating through participatory governance, assess their population's specific needs. They coordinate directly with local producers and service providers. This grassroots bottom-up approach aims to ensure production truly meets actual demand, empowering communities to make informed decisions relevant to their unique context.
So decisions are made closer to the ground.
Exactly. 3. Leveraging advanced technology. This isn't just theoretical. Technology is key. Advanced digital platforms are envisioned to track goods and services in real-time. Think integrated sensors, sophisticated data analytics monitoring consumption, predicting potential shortages before they happen, identifying surpluses.
And the blockchain aspect.
Right. Blockchain provides that secure, immutable, fully transparent ledger for all time credit exchanges, ensuring trust and accountability. Plus, AI and machine learning models could optimize resource allocation across entire supply chains, finding efficiencies and preventing waste on a massive scale.
Okay, what else?
4. Encouraging diverse and resilient production. Kalkiism actively promotes diverse local industries and small-scale enterprises. This enhances regional resilience, prevents overdependency on single-distance sources, fosters a varied supply of goods, strengthens local economies, and builds robustness against unforeseen disruptions like natural disasters or pandemics.
Makes sense. More local, less fragile.
5. Addressing environmental sustainability at the core. Production methods are meticulously designed to minimize waste, conserve resources, and drastically reduce carbon footprints. Sustainability isn't an optional add-on or a green initiative. It's integrated directly into the economic framework. Think durable, repairable goods instead of planned obsolescence. Eco-friendly materials become the default.
Built in from the start.
And 6. Systematic redistribution of surpluses. As mentioned with agriculture, if there's an excess of any good in one area, Kalkiism emphasizes its systematic redistribution to prevent waste and address shortages elsewhere. Time credits facilitate these equitable exchanges, allowing resources to flow dynamically where they are most urgently needed, embodying a truly global cooperative spirit, potentially.
Let's try and illustrate these mechanisms again with some vivid scenarios from the source. Make it tangible.
Certainly. Let's revisit those. A local market thriving. Picture a farmer selling freshly harvested vegetables in their local market, transparently earning time credits for their labor. They then seamlessly use those credits later that day to acquire handmade furniture from a local carpenter. The carpenter, in turn, uses their earned credits to access comprehensive healthcare services. It paints a picture of a seamless, fair exchange where everyone's contribution is valued and needs are met without the complexities and anxieties of money.
A closed loop, almost.
In a way, yeah. Addressing a shortage through cooperation. Imagine a coastal community facing a temporary fish shortage due to, say, unusual weather patterns. Using shared digital platforms, they transparently signal their need to neighboring regions that might have a surplus. These changes then facilitated via time credits. Fish flows one way, time credits the other. This prevents scarcity, ensures food security, and importantly, profoundly strengthens intercommunity ties and solidarity. It becomes mutual aid, not just trade.
Cooperation baked in.
And encouraging innovation for collective good. Remember the inventor developing that revolutionary water filtration system. The community collaboratively funds their work with time credits, supporting their research and development because clean water is a recognized need, part of the GDR. The system is then manufactured locally, providing clean water at a transparent, time-based cost to all residents. This vividly demonstrates how innovation can be incentivized and driven by collective benefit and genuine need, rather than purely by profit potential.
So we have a clearer picture now of this new kind of market system emerging, driven by time and need. But how does this profound economic shift translate into political power? How does it ensure that all voices are truly heard without those familiar distortions of wealth and influence that plague our current democracies?
That's the crucial next step, isn't it? Because economic power and political power are so often intertwined.
Exactly. How does Kalkiism truly drive true democracy, as the source puts it, by eliminating those economic hierarchies? Because in our current systems, it often feels like money talks loudest in politics, silencing marginalized voices.
It's striking how Kalkiism really pinpoints wealth as a primary, if not the primary, corrupting influence in traditional democracies. Think about it. Historically, immense wealth dictates political influence through massive campaign financing, pervasive lobbying efforts that shape legislation, and even control over media narratives.
The system seems tilted.
Right. It allows the wealthy to shape policies primarily to serve their narrow interests, often at the expense of the broader population. Kalkiism proposes to systematically remove this fundamental imbalance
Oh.
by standardizing income through time credits and completely eradicating financial wealth as a source of political power. This radical shift aims to ensure that every individual has equal standing in the political arena. Elections are no longer swayed by multi-million-dollar donations. Policies are ideally shaped by the collective needs and aspirations of the entire population, not just the priorities of an entrenched, wealthy elite.
And it's not just about removing those negative influences, right? It's also about actively promoting participation. The source emphasizes participatory governance.
Yes, exactly. It's not just voting every few years. It envisions citizens actively contributing to ongoing decision-making processes through things like local councils, grassroots assemblies, maybe digital platforms for deliberation, and voting on specific issues. It sounds much more direct than traditional representative democracy.
How does economic equality enable this?
Well, economic equality under Kalkiism is seen as the unbreakable foundation for political and social equity. This translates into several powerful impacts, according to the theory. Enhancing political equity. Equal wages mean equal political weight, in theory. Political campaigns are entirely publicly funded, using democratically allocated time credits from the community pool. This completely removes the corrupting influence of money from elections.
So candidates compete on ideas, not funding.
That's the goal. Candidates receive equal resources to communicate their platforms, ensuring elections are decided by the quality of ideas, the strength of arguments, the ability to connect with the community, not by the size of their campaign war chest. Promoting social equity. By comprehensively compensating all forms of labor, including that essential but often invisible work of caregiving and household management, Kalkiism profoundly reduces gender disparities and actively uplifts historically marginalized communities. For instance, a single mother caring for her children has the exact same access to education, healthcare, public resources, and political participation as a leading scientist or a former corporate executive, because their time is valued equally and basic needs are met. This universal access aims to shatter traditional social hierarchies, building trust and solidarity. When every individual is assured of their basic needs and universally recognized for their contributions, the argument goes, divisions based on class, economic status, gender, or perceived value diminish significantly. This fosters a deep, shared sense of purpose and belonging, reinforcing democratic values of unity, mutual respect, and collective cooperation. Less us versus them.
Okay, so with all this emphasis on transparency and equality, what are the concrete mechanisms proposed to prevent corruption and ensure unwavering accountability within Kalkiism's governance structure? Power can corrupt, even without money involved directly.
A very important question. Kalkiism addresses this through a multifaceted approach, combining structural reforms with those advanced technological innovations we touched on. 1. Decentralized decision-making. Governance is highly decentralized. Power rests primarily with local councils and community assemblies, making decisions directly relevant to their populations. This inherently minimizes the concentration of power in any single entity or individual, drastically reducing opportunities for top-down corruption as citizens are directly involved in and oversee critical decisions affecting them.
Power closer to the people.
2. Transparent resource allocation. Resources are allocated based on the gross domestic requirement, GDR, the data-driven objective metric of population needs. This transparent and needs-based approach aims to eliminate favoritism, nepotism, and the potential for resources to be diverted for personal gain. For example, healthcare resources are distributed by verified need across regions, not by political influence or ability to pay.
Data-driven, not influence-driven.
3. Technology for accountability. Again, leveraging blockchain. It's secure, tamper-proof distributed ledger is envisioned to record all public transactions and governance decisions. Every allocation of resources, every collective decision, every major time credit flow related to public projects becomes fully transparent and accessible to all citizens for real-time verification. Tracking infrastructure spending or resource distribution becomes an open book, verifiable by anyone with access.
Making it hard to hide things.
4. Robust public campaign financing. As mentioned, political campaigns are entirely publicly funded with equally distributed time credits. Perhaps every citizen gets a small allocation of political contribution time credits they can direct to candidates, or a central fund is divided equally. Either way, it makes it literally impossible for private wealth or special interests to buy influence or dominate an election. Success hinges on ideas and connection.
Leveling the electoral field.
5. Strong whistleblower protections and independent oversight. Robust mechanisms, including independent auditing bodies and comprehensive whistleblower protections, are essential. They encourage and safeguard the reporting of any unethical or corrupt behavior without fear of retaliation. This aims to create a culture of integrity and continuous accountability, where checks and balances are ingrained into the very fabric of the system.
Let's look at some illustrative scenarios again to really see how this redefines democracy in practice, making it feel truly participatory.
Of course. Let's imagine participatory budgeting in action. Citizens in a Kalkiism city regularly gather, maybe physically, maybe using secure digital platforms, to directly deliberate and vote on how their community's collective time credits should be allocated for major public projects. Should we fund a new school, invest more in renewable energy infrastructure this cycle, or develop more green spaces? Resources are directed by the immediate democratic will of the community members themselves.
Direct democracy on spending.
Transparent governance through technology. A local council is tasked with distributing agricultural resources, seeds, tools, maybe access to communal land. They meticulously record every decision, from the initial allocation plans based on GDR needs, right through to the final crop distribution reports on a public blockchain. All citizens can access and verify these records in real time, ensuring efficiency, fairness, and accountability at every single step, virtually eliminating opportunities for backroom deals or corruption. Everything out in the open. Equal political representation in practice. In national or regional elections, all verified candidates receive an exactly equal allocation of time credits for their campaigns for travel, materials, organizing events. Debates are held on widely accessible public platforms. Citizens evaluate candidates solely on the merits of their policies, their vision, their track record, and their demonstrated commitment to the public good, rather than being swayed by slick advertising funded by hidden donors. Elections become contests of ideas, not wealth.
Okay, so if we have a truly democratic and fair governance system taking shape, how does Kalkiism then propose to unleash human potential for creativity and progress? That's the next exciting piece, isn't it? Innovation.
Exactly. With the foundations of equity and participation laid, the focus shifts to maximizing human ingenuity.
That's right. Traditional systems often get criticized, rightly or wrongly, for how bureaucracy or the relentless pressure for short-term profits can stifle true, groundbreaking innovation. How does Kalkiism aim for what the source calls a Cambrian explosion of breakthroughs, a genuine surge in human ingenuity across all fields?
It's quite remarkable how Kalkiism proposes to foster unprecedented human cooperation by fundamentally removing the insidious barriers to collaboration that are so prevalent in profit-driven competitive systems.
How does it remove those barriers?
Well, in a time-based economy where all labor is equally valued, individuals and organizations are inherently incentivized to work together rather than engage in cutthroat competition. Why hoard information or resources if there's no direct financial advantage? And collective success benefits everyone equally.
The incentive structure shifts.
Exactly. This aims to cultivate a powerful sense of shared purpose and collective goals, squarely focused on collective well-being. Imagine an entire community, or even multiple communities, collaborating to develop next-generation renewable energy technology. Scientists, engineers, local workers all contribute their time, earning their standard time credits, and the benefits of that innovation, like cleaner air and cheaper energy in terms of time cost, accrue to everyone.
Less secrecy, more sharing.
That's the idea. And crucially, it rigorously removes barriers to entry. Universal access to high-quality education, specialized training, and essential resources guaranteed as part of the GDR means that talent isn't restricted by socioeconomic status. This potentially unleashes a far more diverse, widespread, and previously untapped pool of human potential, accelerating innovation on an entirely different scale.
So, with this collaborative spirit and genuine equality of opportunity, what kind of breakthroughs in technology, art, and science could Kalkiism realistically foster? It sounds almost like a utopian ideal for unlocking human potential.
The source outlines a truly powerful and inspiring vision, broken down into areas. Technological advancements. Innovation is no longer primarily driven by finding the most profitable market niche, but by collective benefit and pressing societal need. This could lead to a rapid acceleration in areas like, say, advanced renewable energy solutions tailored for global energy security, perhaps ambitious space exploration projects aimed at collective scientific discovery rather than national prestige or resource exploitation, or medical technology focused purely on improving quality of life and eradicating diseases, rather than just developing profitable long-term treatments for those who can afford them.
A different set of priorities driving R&D.
Artistic flourishes. Artists, theoretically liberated from the relentless financial pressure to monetize their creativity or cater to commercial tastes, could pursue their passions fully and fearlessly. This might ignite a massive cultural renaissance. Think public art transforming urban spaces, a surge in cultural diversity in experimental forms, exploration of entirely new media like immersive VR or AI-assisted art without the usual commercial constraints. The value of art would be judged by its contribution to the human spirit and community enrichment, not its market price tag.
More art for art's sake or community's sake.
Scientific discoveries. Research gets prioritized based on pressing societal needs like urgent climate solutions and the fundamental advancement of human knowledge, rather than needing to demonstrate immediate financial returns or secure corporate funding. This could mean a significant surge in resources and collaboration for things like universal preventative healthcare innovations, or for fundamental research in fields like quantum physics or microbiology that expands humanity's understanding of the universe, laying the groundwork for future, unforeseen applications without needing a business plan first.
This sounds incredible for human potential, but how does Kalkiism ensure this interplay of freedom and equality actually fosters this kind of high-level innovation? Isn't there a risk that by making everything equal in terms of reward, we might lose that spark of individual genius, that intense drive to push boundaries that competition sometimes fuels?
That's a really critical point, and the balance between freedom and equality is central to Kalkiism's proposed innovative capacity. It's nuanced.
How does it work?
Freedom to experiment. In traditional systems, failure can be catastrophic financially. A failed startup, a research project that doesn't pan out, it can mean ruin. This naturally leads to risk aversion. In Kalkiism, failure isn't penalized financially in the same way.
How so?
An inventor working on an ambitious, potentially world-changing but high-risk renewable energy project, for instance, still earns their standard time credits for their dedicated hours of effort, even if immediate success isn't guaranteed. This fundamentally encourages risk-taking, bold thinking, and the pursuit of truly disruptive, unconventional ideas without that paralyzing fear of personal economic collapse if it doesn't work out immediately. Failure becomes a learning opportunity, not a disaster.
Less fear, more bold attempts.
Equality of opportunity. As we discussed, universal access to education, training, and resources means that brilliant minds from all backgrounds, not just the privileged few who can afford elite institutions or have connections, can fully develop their potential and contribute. This brings vastly diverse perspectives, experiences, and cultural insights to problem solving. That diversity fosters resilience and generates genuinely novel solutions that might never emerge from a more homogeneous, financially stratified group. More minds, more backgrounds, more ideas.
Tapping into the full human potential.
Collaboration over competition. The cooperative ethos actively replaces cutthroat competition with shared purpose. Innovators are incentivized to pool knowledge, share resources openly, and collaborate on shared challenges, rather than protecting trade secrets or fighting over patents. Imagine interdisciplinary teams from various scientific fields and different communities working together seamlessly on complex global issues like developing truly biodegradable packaging solutions, combining material science, industrial design, logistics, and sustainability expertise for a collective good that benefits everyone. This synergy is believed to significantly accelerate progress.
Let's use the source's illustrative scenarios again to paint this picture of Kalki's innovation even more vividly. Bring it down to earth.
Absolutely. These really help visualize it. A renewable energy revolution. Envision global communities collaborating openly on truly massive renewable energy projects. Engineers, scientists, and local workers across continents would collectively develop and implement highly localized, efficient solar farms, advanced geothermal plants, innovative wind turbines, maybe even fusion power if it becomes viable, all tailored to regional needs. This could provide clean, affordable, in-time cost power for everyone, everywhere, fundamentally mitigating climate change on a planetary scale through shared, open-source innovation.
A global cooperative effort.
An artistic renaissance flourishing. Artists, completely freed from financial constraints and the need to sell, could transform public spaces into vibrant cultural hubs. Intricate murals, thought-provoking sculptures, immersive interactive installations, community theater, diverse musical performances, all enriching the cultural fabric of communities, fostering civic pride and providing profound shared aesthetic experiences. An explosion of creative expression driven by passion and community engagement.
Art integrated into daily life.
Breakthroughs in healthcare for all. A Kalkiist healthcare system would intrinsically prioritize research into, say, rare diseases, chronic illnesses, and preventative care, not just the most profitable treatments for common ailments in wealthy populations. Collaborative teams of scientists and physicians, unburdened by commercial pressures or patent races, could focus entirely on developing truly affordable and universally accessible treatments, therapies, diagnostic tools, and vaccines, ensuring equitable access to life-saving innovations for all worldwide, regardless of their economic status or location. That would be the primary goal.
This vision of innovation and collaboration sounds incredibly promising, almost idealistic. But how does Kalkiism address perhaps the most fundamental and stubborn problems humanity faces? The persistent specters of poverty and scarcity. Can it really deliver on eliminating those?
That's the ultimate test, isn't it? Because traditional systems, despite generating immense wealth overall, have consistently failed to eradicate poverty on a global scale. Often, they even seem to create or perpetuate it.
So how does Kalkiism fundamentally change this? How does it aim for a world where poverty and scarcity are truly things of the past?
Kalkiism's core framework for eradicating poverty really revolves around its unwavering emphasis on meeting the gross domestic requirement, the GDR, of every single individual. It's not an afterthought. It's the starting point.
Needs first.
Needs first. It enshrines basic needs as a right. Access to nutritious food, dignified housing, comprehensive health care, universal education, reliable energy, these are not treated as commodities to be bought and sold based on ability to pay. They are guaranteed entitlements for all citizens.
And how is that guarantee fulfilled?
The system is designed so that everyone's contribution, through time credits, ensures they have the means to access these necessities. Remember the single mother example. Her essential caregiving work directly translates into guaranteed access to necessities for her family, affirming her dignity and assuring their well-being, rather than leaving her trapped in a cycle of financial precariousness or dependence. Poverty, in theory, becomes impossible if the GDR is met.
Okay, but it's not just about guaranteeing access on paper. It's about ensuring there's genuinely enough for everyone. How does Kalkiism ensure efficient resource allocation to minimize waste and prevent shortages without resorting to that old-style, inefficient command and control economics?
That's where the combination of community planning and technology comes in again. Under the GDR framework, communities collaboratively assess their requirements. They use those sophisticated data-driven tools we talked about to allocate resources effectively and prevent imbalances before they become critical shortages.
Proactive, not reactive.
Ideally, yes. This collective planning approach, combined with the lack of incentive for hoarding or speculation, is designed to dramatically minimize waste. For example, if a region experiences a bumper harvest leading to a surplus of agricultural produce, that excess isn't left to rot or dumped to maintain prices.
What happened?
It's systematically and transparently redistributed to areas facing shortages, perhaps facilitated by those blockchain-based time credit exchanges. This aims to eliminate food waste on a large scale and ensure no one goes hungry. It fundamentally shifts from a profit-driven surplus, often leading to waste, to a needs-driven distribution that maximizes utility for all.
So this is really about raising living standards universally, across the board, by ensuring these fundamentals are covered everywhere. What specifically does that entail for individuals and communities?
It's presented as incredibly comprehensive, addressing multiple facets of well-being simultaneously. Universal healthcare and education, genuinely accessible to all, completely without financial barriers. Doctors, nurses, teachers earn their time credits for their vital work, and their services are available to everyone based on need. High-quality medical care and lifelong learning opportunities become universal rights, not privileges.
Removing cost as a barrier.
Dignified housing and robust infrastructure. Construction and maintenance of quality housing and essential public infrastructure, like clean water systems, sanitation, transport, are prioritized based on the assessed needs of the population, the GDR, not on market speculation or potential ROI. Housing is allocated based on verifiable requirements, aiming to effectively eliminate homelessness and ensure safe, comfortable, and supportive living conditions for all citizens.
Housing as a right, essentially.
Integrated environmental sustainability. And this is crucial. It's not an add-on, it's interwoven throughout the entire system. Improved living standards don't come at the expense of the environment. Instead, rapid adoption of renewable energy, comprehensive waste reduction and recycling programs, and dedicated conservation efforts are inherently prioritized because they are essential for long-term well-being. It aims for a harmonious balance between human development and ecological health.
This all sounds incredibly promising, maybe even transformative. But I can hear listeners thinking, what about the immense challenges? Implementing something as radical as GDR globally, given the vast disparities, the entrenched systems, the sheer complexity of our current world, how does Kalkiism propose to overcome such monumental hurdles?
And the source material absolutely acknowledges these are significant, very real obstacles. It doesn't pretend it's easy. But it does propose practical, often phased solutions. One, resistance to change. This is probably the biggest hurdle. Vested interests, particularly wealthy elites, large corporations, even governments benefiting immensely from the status quo, will undoubtedly resist such a fundamental shift that threatens their power and profits.
How do you overcome that?
Solution. Kalkiism emphasizes that broad-based education and awareness campaigns are absolutely crucial. Building widespread public understanding and support by clearly articulating the tangible benefits for the vast majority is key. This would likely need to be coupled with strategically launched pilot programs in smaller, willing communities or regions. Demonstrating the system's effectiveness on the ground could create undeniable momentum for broader adoption. Success breeds success. 2. Global coordination and disparities. The huge differences between nations in terms of infrastructure, resources, political stability pose a massive coordination challenge. How do you implement this fairly everywhere?
Yeah, that seems tough.
Solution. The idea is that wealthier nations, no longer solely driven by profit motives or geopolitical advantage, would be inherently incentivized within a Kalkiist framework to share technology, expertise, and resources transparently. New international organizations, perhaps operating on Kalkiist principles themselves, would facilitate this coordination, ensuring equitable implementation and resource flows across borders, focusing on lifting everyone to meet the GDR standard. 3. Technological integration. Implementing a complex time-based economy requires advanced digital systems for tracking, allocation, verification, and transparency. Not every region has this infrastructure.
The digital divide is real.
Solution. This necessitates substantial initial investment in universal digital infrastructure, internet access, computing devices. Crucially, the development of open-source software is emphasized, ensuring accessibility and preventing proprietary control by any single entity. Extensive training programs would also be vital to ensure universal digital literacy and access to these essential tools. Blockchain provides the secure, transparent backbone, but it needs the infrastructure to run on. 4. Cultural adaptation. Kalkiism recognizes that its universal principles can't be imposed rigidly everywhere. They must be adaptable and respectful of diverse local traditions, values, and cultural contexts.
How is that managed?
Solution. A strong emphasis on deep community involvement in the design and implementation phases at the local level is critical. This ensures the system reflects the unique needs, values, and priorities of diverse populations, allowing for necessary flexibility and genuine inclusivity rather than a one-size-fits-all top-down imposition. It has to feel owned by the community.
That's a comprehensive look at the challenges and potential solutions. Now let's really crystallize the difference. How does Kalkiism specifically compare to the systems it seeks to replace when it comes to tackling poverty and scarcity? Where does it stand relative to capitalism and communism on these core issues?
This comparison is crucial for understanding its unique positioning. Capitalism's shortcomings. We've touched on this. While effective at generating wealth and spurring certain kinds of innovation, capitalism fundamentally struggles with equitable distribution. This leads to persistent income inequality, potential exploitation of labor, especially where regulations are weak, and often significant environmental harm driven by the profit motive. Essential services like healthcare and education frequently remain inaccessible or unaffordable for the poor and marginalized. Kalkiism's counter. It directly addresses these failures by replacing the profit motive with time-based incentives and the GDR framework, aiming to ensure that economic progress genuinely benefits everyone, not just a privileged few, and that basic needs are met as fundamental rights.
Okay, and compared to communism?
Communism's limitations. Communism, while aiming for profound equality and the elimination of class distinctions, historically often resulted in pervasive inefficiency, chronic scarcity, remember the Qs, and frequently descended into authoritarianism due to extreme centralized control. This stifled individual freedom, discouraged grassroots innovation, and ultimately hindered overall societal progress and well-being in many cases. Kalkiism avoids these pitfalls. It is explicitly designed to be decentralized and community-driven, empowering individuals and local groups through participatory governance while fostering collaboration. The time-based economy aims to provide fair compensation and intrinsic motivation without sacrificing productivity, creativity, or essential individual liberties. It tries to get the equality without the authoritarian control.
So it's positioning itself as a third way.
Yes, or perhaps even beyond that binary, a new paradigm. Kalkiism argues it transcends the binary opposition of capitalism versus communism. It fundamentally redefines the purpose of the economy. It attempts to value both individual contributions and collective well-being, intrinsically integrating environmental sustainability into its core design, not as an afterthought. It's presented as a holistic framework meticulously designed to eradicate poverty and scarcity by aligning all economic activity directly with comprehensive human needs and long-term ecological health.
Let's bring this comparison to life one last time with those illustrative scenarios from the source. They really hammer home the difference in practice.
Consider these powerful vignettes again, viewed through this comparative lens. A self-sustaining community thriving. Imagine villagers collaborating seamlessly to produce their own food, construct energy-efficient housing using local materials, and provide high-quality education tailored to their children's needs. Farmers earn time credits for their essential work, which they effortlessly use for healthcare consultations from the community clinic or to access cultural events organized locally. Needs are consistently met through collective planning and mutual aid, ensuring every individual in the community not only survives, but truly thrives, a stark contrast to potential scarcity or inequality elsewhere.
Community resilience.
Global resource sharing in action. Picture a region suffering from a severe drought, a scenario often leading to famine or dependence on conditional aid in our current world. Under Kalkiism, instead of relying on charity or incurring crippling debt for food imports, they receive immediate, targeted assistance from neighboring areas with food surpluses. Blockchain technology transparently facilitates these time credit-based exchanges, demonstrating a potential global cooperative network that prevents hunger, strengthens international solidarity, and could eventually eradicate the concept of food deserts based purely on lack of purchasing power.
Needs met directly.
Universal healthcare access as a reality. In a Kalkiist city, hospitals provide comprehensive, high-quality healthcare to all citizens without any financial barriers whatsoever. Doctors, nurses, technicians, support staff all earn their standard time credits for their dedicated service, which they then use to access housing, education, or leisure activities like anyone else. Patients receive the best possible care, determined solely by medical need, not by their insurance plan or ability to pay. This showcases the system's profound commitment to equity and human dignity in a way neither purely capitalist nor historically communist systems fully achieved.
This sounds like such a drastic but potentially incredibly positive change from our current reality. It leads to the question, what would a day-to-day existence actually look like in such a society? Let's try and imagine stepping into Harmony Valley, a hypothetical Kalkiist town, to experience a typical day.
Okay, let's try and paint that vivid picture for you, drawing on the details in the source. Morning. Community and connection. Our day begins following Amira, the caregiver. Her work, assisting elderly residents at the community center, helping with routines, sharing stories, organizing activities, work that in traditional systems is often undervalued or entirely unpaid, now earns her full-time credits for every hour she dedicates.
Her contribution is formally recognized.
Exactly. This provides her with dignified compensation and ensures her family's needs are met, but just as importantly, it visibly strengthens the community bonds within Harmony Valley. Around 9 a.m., she heads to the local market. She selects fresh, locally grown vegetables, artisan bread, maybe some fruit, all transparently priced in minutes and hours, reflecting the labor involved. The cost is seamlessly deducted from her time balance via her app. No cash registers, no credit cards, no hidden fees, no interest, no debt, just fair, clear exchanges.
Simple and direct.
Midday, vibrant markets and creativity. The market square isn't just for groceries, it's a bustling hub of activity. We see Javier the farmer selling his abundant produce, earning time credits for his essential labor. He uses some of those credits right there to commission a beautiful, handmade piece of furniture from a local artisan, knowing the carpenter's time is valued just as highly as his own farm work.
Mutual respect in action.
Meanwhile, Layla the artist spends her morning sketching designs for a public mural the community collectively decided to fund. Her art is considered essential to the community's cultural well-being. Later, she might sell smaller paintings, priced in hours based on her time invested, perhaps exchanging them directly for immersive music lessons from another community member. The inherent equality and value for all professions means passion and creativity are genuinely encouraged, not secondary concerns after making rent.
People doing what they love and are good at.
Afternoon, collaboration and innovation. We visit Dr. Noor, the scientist, in her community-funded lab. She's collaborating intensely with a diverse team, chemists, biologists, maybe some engineering students on that groundbreaking water purification technology we mentioned. They all earn their standard time credits for their contributions, completely freed from the typical pressures of chasing grant funding or focusing on profitable patents. Their entire facility, by the way, is powered by locally generated renewable energy, showcasing the community's integrated environmental commitment. By evening, they celebrate a significant breakthrough in filtration efficiency, a collective achievement that will directly benefit the entire community's health and potentially be shared openly with others.
Innovation for the common good.
Evening, leisure and learning. As the sun begins to set, Arjun the teacher isn't just teaching kids. He's leading a free, open workshop in the community center on sustainable gardening techniques. Participants actually earn time credits for their active learning and contribution to the community's food knowledge. Later, maybe he attends Layla's poetry reading in the town square, fostering that deep community connection and appreciation for the arts. We also see Sophia, the student, volunteering at the local animal shelter, earning time credits for her compassionate work, which she then uses for dance classes and music lessons, pursuing her personal growth and enrichment without any financial burden.
Learning and leisure are accessible too.
Harmony in society. The overall feeling the source tries to convey in Harmony Valley is one of profound societal harmony. Transactions are seamless, transparent, and stress-free, no hidden fees, crippling interest, or the constant burden of debt. Markets are vibrant hubs of creativity, exchange, and genuine community interaction, not just cold places of commerce defined by price tags. And individuals are truly empowered. Every single contribution, from farming to art to caregiving to scientific research, is recognized and valued, fostering deep mutual respect and a powerful shared sense of belonging and collective purpose.
And the source also gives us those brief glimpses into personal stories, which really make these concepts resonate more deeply. Amira's journey from the struggles of unpaid care work to dignified compensation and respect, Javier's tangible vision for expanding his community orchard, knowing it will be fully supported by the system because it meets a community need, and Layla's profound pride in seeing her art actively enriching the community, rather than just being a commodity sold for personal wealth.
It paints a very compelling, perhaps idealistic, but certainly coherent picture of a different way of living. But inevitably, a system this radical, this different from everything we know, will face skepticism. Lots of it. What are the common doubts, the myths, and how does Kalkiism attempt to address them head-on, clarifying why it's fundamentally distinct from what we already know?
You're absolutely right. Any truly revolutionary idea faces a barrage of skepticism and misunderstanding, and Kalkiism is no exception. It sounds so different, people naturally try to fit it into existing boxes. How does Kalkiism effectively clarify why it's not just a rehash of old ideas and dispel those common myths?
Kalkiism, or rather its proponents in the source material, directly addresses these myths head-on, offering clear, nuanced clarifications to distinguish its unique position. Myth 1. Kalkiism is just another form of communism. This is probably the most common comparison. Clarification. While both systems aim for equality, the source argues the similarities largely end there. Kalkiism is fundamentally decentralized. Decisions are made at the hyperlocal community level, explicitly designed to avoid communism's historical pitfalls of rigid, centralized state control and the resulting authoritarianism. It actively maintains vibrant markets, albeit time-based ones, and strongly upholds individual autonomy and freedom of choice, thus aiming to prevent the inefficiency, scarcity, and suppression of liberty that often plagued state-run communist regimes. It empowers the individual and the community, not a monolithic, distant state apparatus.
So decentralized equality versus centralized equality.
That's a key distinction they make. Myth 2. Kalkiism is just a reinvented form of capitalism, maybe socialism. The market aspect confuses people. Clarification. While Kalkiism does utilize markets for the distribution of goods and services, it completely eliminates the profit motive as the primary driving force. Its core objective is meeting human needs, GDR, over generating private profits. The time-based currency, by its very nature, cannot be accumulated indefinitely for wealth hoarding or exploited through interest or financial speculation. This structural difference ensures universal access for all based on contribution, time worked, and inherently fosters cooperation and mutual aid over cutthroat competition. It's presented as a market system redesigned entirely for collective benefit, not individual financial gain.
The engine driving the market is different.
Fundamentally different, yes. Myth 3, Kalkiism will lead to laziness and stagnation. The if everyone earns the same, why bother working hard? Argument. Clarification. This myth assumes that human motivation is purely extrinsic and primarily financial. Kalkiism challenges this, arguing that work can be reconceptualized as a meaningful contribution to society, not merely a means of survival or wealth accumulation. Equal time-based compensation ensures all labor is valued and respected, providing powerful intrinsic motivations, things like dignity, recognition, social standing, the satisfaction of contributing to shared well-being, pursuing one's passion. Furthermore, the absence of crushing financial pressure could actually encourage greater innovation and bold risk-taking, as individuals are free to pursue ambitious ideas without the paralyzing fear of personal financial ruin if they fail. History, they argue, is full of examples of people driven by passion, curiosity, and a desire to help, not just money.
Challenging assumptions about human motivation.
Deeply. Myth 4. Kalkiism is utopian and unrealistic. It sounds nice, but it could never actually work. Dismissal. Clarification. Kalkiism's proponents insist it's firmly grounded in practical principles and scalable mechanisms. Its core concepts, time-based currency, gross domestic requirement, are not presented as abstract fantasies pulled from thin air. They are explicitly designed to be supported by existing and rapidly advancing technologies like blockchain for transparent, secure ledgers, and AI for sophisticated resource optimization and needs forecasting. Moreover, they point to existing local pilot programs, like community time banks, which operate on similar principles of time exchange, as evidence demonstrating its fundamental feasibility and benefits, at least on a smaller scale. Crucially, Kalkiism explicitly advocates for a gradual incremental transition, starting with pilot communities learning, adapting, and expanding organically as its effectiveness is demonstrably proven, making it an evolutionary path, not an overnight revolutionary fantasy.
So, grounded in tech and advocating a gradual rollout.
That's the argument for its practicality.
And the source also briefly reiterates solutions to those transition challenges we discussed earlier, tackling resistance from vested interests through education and successful pilot programs, building the necessary tech infrastructure via strategic investment and open source tools, ensuring cultural adaptation through deep community involvement and flexibility, and managing global coordination via new kinds of international organizations designed for a Kalkiist world.
Exactly. To conclude this section, the source powerfully summarizes why Kalkiism works, in its own view. It values everyone equally, it prioritizes genuine human needs over insatiable profits, it inherently encourages collaboration across all sectors of society, and it relentlessly promotes environmental sustainability as a core operating principle, not an optional extra. These are presented as its undeniable foundational strengths, meticulously designed to solve the deep-seated, interconnected crises of our age.
Okay. With these common misconceptions addressed, let's now truly expand our perspective. Let's look at Kalkiism's most ambitious promise, nothing less than a new world order. How does it envision scaling up to reshape global dynamics?
Right, moving from the community level to the planetary scale. This is where the vision becomes truly transformative, aiming to reshape international relations and comprehensively address those huge issues that transcend national borders, global poverty, resource scarcity, climate change.
So what are the major global implications of Kalkiism, according to the source?
It breaks down into a few key areas. 1. Eradicating economic disparities between nations. This is huge. Currently, wealthier nations dominate global trade, finance, and resource allocation, often perpetuating cycles of dependency and poverty in developing nations. Kalkiism aims to fundamentally level this global playing field. How? Resources would ideally be distributed based on verifiable need, global GDR perhaps, not just financial power or historical advantage.
How would that work practically?
It means developing nations could gain equitable access to the tools, technology, expertise, and resources they need to meet their own population's basic requirements and genuinely flourish without crippling debt or exploitative trade deals. For instance, surplus food or advanced clean energy tech from a resource-rich nation could be shared transparently and efficiently with regions experiencing scarcity or lacking infrastructure, facilitated through global time-based exchange systems. This actively dissolves historical debt burdens and aims to eliminate exploitative practices that have long held back development in the global south. 2. Promoting global sustainability. Global challenges like climate change, biodiversity loss, ocean pollution, they demand truly collective, coordinated action. Kalkiism's inherent commitment to environmental sustainability built into its core GDR metric means that international collaborations on massive planet-wide projects become not just possible, but logical and necessary.
Like what kind of projects?
Think large-scale ecological restoration initiatives, development of global open-source renewable energy grids, coordinated efforts to clean up plastic waste. Engineers, scientists, local communities from multiple countries would collaborate openly, with time credits fairly compensating all contributors, regardless of nationality. The focus shifts entirely from nations competing fiercely for diminishing finite resources to becoming collective stewards of the planet for the benefit of all current and future inhabitants. 3. Strengthening peace and stability. This is a potential long-term benefit. Economic disparities, competition for resources, historical exploitation, these are often underlying fuels for international conflict, mistrust, and geopolitical tension. By fostering shared prosperity, ensuring basic needs are met everywhere, and creating profound interdependence through equitable resource sharing and universal access, Kalkiism inherently diminishes the incentive for war and conflict. Instead, it aims to cultivate mutual understanding, deep trust, and a shared global purpose, making violent conflict less likely and sustained cooperation the rational default.
That sounds like a monumental task, requiring unprecedented levels of trust and collaboration. How would international cooperation under Kalkiism actually be facilitated on such a scale? What are the concrete mechanisms proposed to make this truly viable globally?
The source details several innovative mechanisms, acknowledging the immense challenge. Establishing global frameworks and institutions. Kalkiism recognizes the need for new international institutions, fundamentally different from existing ones often dominated by powerful states. For example, they envision a global resource council to oversee GDR implementation on a planetary scale, ensuring needs are accurately assessed and facilitating the equitable sharing of essential resources across borders. Perhaps a Kalkiism environmental agency would ensure all global development rigorously aligns with ecological priorities and planetary boundaries.
How would these be different?
Critically, these institutions would need to operate with complete transparency, all decisions, data, resource flows recorded on public ledgers, like blockchain. And most importantly, they would have to grant all nations an equal voice and vote, regardless of their historical economic power or military might. A truly democratized global governance structure. Technology as a unifying tool. Technology plays a vital role here too. Blockchain could serve as the backbone for transparent, secure, and instantaneous time credit transactions globally, allowing for seamless and verifiable exchanges across borders without relying on traditional banking systems or currency fluctuations. Advanced AI could help optimize resource allocation on a vast interconnected scale, identifying global needs and surpluses in real time with unprecedented accuracy. Digital platforms would enable unprecedented real-time collaboration between nations, research institutions, and individuals, fostering a genuine sense of global community working on shared problems. Imagine scientists from different continents collaborating effortlessly on climate modeling or disease surveillance, sharing data and insights instantaneously. Addressing cultural diversity with adaptability. This is crucial for global acceptance. Kalkiism's universal principles, equity, sufficiency, cooperation, are designed to be flexible and adaptable to diverse local contexts. Deep community involvement at all levels, national, regional, local, ensures that solutions and implementations are inclusive and culturally appropriate, respecting traditions and values. For instance, while one African community might prioritize agricultural development methods suited to their specific climate and traditions, an Asian community might focus on highly specialized renewable energy solutions. Both align with Kalkiism's overarching goals, but through localized, respectful application. It avoids a one-size-fits-all imposition from afar.
So the ultimate goal here is a complete dissolution of economic disparities, not just within countries, but between nations, finally addressing those historical imbalances of wealth and power that have shaped our world for centuries. How would that truly empower developing nations and fundamentally redefine the nature of global trade?
It would be nothing short of transformative, according to the vision. Empowering developing nations. Kalkiism aims to actively eliminate the crushing debt burdens and exploitative trade practices that have long perpetuated poverty and dependency in many developing nations. These nations would gain genuine autonomy and direct access to the resources, knowledge, and technology needed for their own sustainable development, completely free from financial dependencies or predatory loan agreements imposed by wealthier nations or institutions. Instead of relying on foreign aid that often comes with strings attached, they could implement Kalki's systems focused squarely on meeting their own population's GDR needs, powerfully supported by genuine international partnerships sharing technology and expertise for truly sustainable, self-directed growth.
A shift from dependence to autonomy.
Redefining global trade. Trade would no longer be primarily driven by multinational corporations seeking the lowest labor costs and highest profit margins, or by nations competing for market dominance. Instead, it would be driven purely by cooperation and mutual benefit, based on meeting needs identified through the GDR framework. Time-based exchange ensures inherent fairness, eliminating exploitative practices like sweatshops or unfair commodity pricing that benefit consumers in rich countries at the expense of producers elsewhere. The example provided is illustrative. Latin American farmers might exchange their coffee, priced fairly based on the time invested in its cultivation and processing, directly with European engineers who provide their time and expertise in developing sustainable infrastructure needed by the farmers' community. Both parties benefit equitably, and genuine ties of shared humanity and mutual respect are strengthened.
Trade based on mutual need and fair exchange of time.
Humanitarian dignity and equality. Fundamentally, under Kalkiism's global vision, every country and every individual within it is considered equally valuable. No nation could dominate another based solely on its accumulated financial wealth or perceived economic power. This fosters a profound global sense of shared humanity and collective dignity, where every voice truly matters in shaping the planetary future. It aims to dismantle the geopolitical hierarchies that define our current world order.
This vision of a truly global, equitable, and sustainable system is incredibly compelling, if daunting. But the source also realistically mentions that transitioning to a Kalkiist world order would be incredibly complex and face enormous resistance. What would that long, challenging process likely entail?
Indeed. The source doesn't sugarcoat the difficulty. It suggests the transition would have to be gradual and strategic. It would almost certainly involve starting with successful, well-documented pilot programs in diverse local and regional communities worldwide. Rigorously demonstrating the viability, benefits, and adaptability of the model in real-world conditions would be essential to build confidence and allow for refinement based on experience.
Learning by doing.
Exactly. Building broad public support across nations through transparent education, open dialogue, and compelling communication about the potential benefits would be absolutely critical to foster a collective desire for change strong enough to challenge entrenched systems. And crucially, means strategically and perhaps diplomatically overcoming that inevitable, powerful resistance from entrenched interests, the powerful corporations, financial institutions, and political elites who benefit immensely from the status quo. This would likely require demonstrating the overwhelming, tangible benefits of Kalkiism for the vast majority of humanity, making the status quo increasingly politically untenable. It's presented as a long-term vision requiring immense collective will.
A long road, certainly.
Definitely. So just to reaffirm our core message here as we wrap up, Kalkiism, as presented in the material, is positioned as neither communism nor capitalism. It's framed as a fundamentally new and potentially promising approach to achieving genuine equality and sustainable prosperity. It represents what proponents see as the transformative power of new economic paradigms, offering a meticulously thought-out blueprint to try and transcend the inherent limitations and documented failures of past and present systems.
And what Kalkiism ultimately promises, the vision it holds out, is a world where the dignity of all labor is universally recognized and fairly compensated through time, where basic needs food, shelter, health, education, energy are met for every single person on the planet as a fundamental right, where innovation flourishes not primarily for profit, but through true collaboration focused on the common good, and where environmental sustainability is not an optional extra or a burden, but paramount to and integrated within all economic activity. It's presented as a profound promise of shared humanity and collective progress, meticulously designed to genuinely transcend the deep divisions, inequalities, and systemic failures that have plagued us in the past and continue to challenge us today.
And perhaps, as humanity confronts these daunting, interconnected crises, pervasive inequality driving social unrest, accelerating environmental degradation, threatening our very existence, looming resource scarcity, challenging our consumption patterns, Kalkiism provides at least a detailed, coherent blueprint, a potential pathway toward the more equitable, just, and sustainable future. The fundamental question, really the one for you, the listener, to perhaps mull over or explore further on your own, is this. Are we, as a collective humanity, truly ready? Are we ready to genuinely challenge the deeply ingrained status quo, to question the assumptions underlying our current systems, and to summon the immense collective will required to actually work towards such a revolutionary, transformative vision?
That's a powerful question for us all to consider. It asks us to deeply reimagine what's possible, to look beyond the familiar, and to contemplate what our shared future could and perhaps should be. We invite you to continue thinking about this potential revolutionary future, and maybe, in small ways or large, even begin working toward the aspects of it that resonate most. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.